All right, week 9 recap. Starting with our results straight out of Fantrax. I beat Bo 11-4-1. Razzle Dazzle. Jeremiah ties Frank 7-7-2. Debsy Dimes beats Basic Pitches 9-6-1. French with a narrow win over Corey 8-7-1. Alex with a total reversal over the weekend gets a 9-6-1 win over Casey. And Nate once again claws back to a tie at the last second, the last game, 6 o'clock game on Sunday, to tie 8-8 with Matthew. So shifting straight over here to our homepage or the commissioner report. Nate hasn't lost in 6 weeks, although twice he's tied 2 of the last 3 weeks, I believe. I've now won 5 in a row. Frank's got 1 in a row. Maffey hasn't lost in 2 weeks, but one of those was a tie. Alex with 1 win. Casey's now lost 5 in a row. 4 wins, 5 losses. It's tough. JW with his first win streak of the season, I imagine, at 2. Corey, actually I have that wrong, don't I? Corey lost. I thought Corey won. Yeah, so French with the win. Switch that around. Bo and Brad both lost 1. Jeremiah's now hasn't won in 3 weeks, but twice he's tied. So he tied Nate, and now he just tied Frank. Pretty good, honestly. You can tie those 2 guys. Let's look at our actual VTL numbers, and I'll scroll over so we can see the luck as well. Let me maybe zoom in a little. Yeah, it's better. Yeah, not enough room for both. We'll just look at VTL for now. So we have a new VTL leader. Everyone bow down to Justin. It is a 3% lead. Nate's VTL has dipped. The last 2 weeks have not been kind. And this was a mammoth week for me, my best week by a mile. I think it was the best week of any team so far this season by like 10%. It was a monster week. Frank comes in a couple percentage points behind Nate. Maffey about 1% behind him. Corey about 1% behind him. Alex 1.5% behind him. Jeremiah 2% behind him. So that's like our biggest break, really, once you get down past Nate and I. We're still really tightly packed. We sort of have a nice clean delineation between playoff teams and non-playoff teams, if you were to call it today, based on VTL, which that's not how it works, but you'd have these 6 teams: Justin, Nate, Frank, Maffey, Corey, Alex, and then the non-playoff teams: Jeremiah, Casey, Bo, French, JW, and Brad. So everyone from Jeremiah to Brad still separated by like 2.62% VTL. Very, very, very small gap, though it's widened a little bit since last week when we were at our like all-time closest ever. Yeah, let's get into a couple other items. So luck, Jeremiah has wrestled the unluckiest title back from Corey, but the 2 of them are just so head and shoulders more unlucky than anybody else. It's pretty jarring. You can just see it right here with the color scheme. Frank still is going to probably be the luckiest guy for quite some time just because he had such a massive head start. Still hasn't even had to face 40% batting VTL with his opponents through 9 weeks. Just baffling. But I know I've said that week over week, so let's just get past it. So here are some of our individual percentile performances for the week. I was 98.5 percentile. Percentile. 22nd best week of all time. 75th best batting, 90th best pitching. That's 95th percentile, 94th percentile. Hate to play that guy in the playoffs. Yeah, pretty special week. Best week of the season for anyone in our group so far. Frank had an exceptional week as well, going 70% or better, 70 and 80, basically, pitching and batting, which is a crazy good week. Jeremiah with a really strong week as well, 75%. Corey with a nice week too. Jeremiah now has had 2 straight weeks with pretty good pitching VTLs. So that sticks. Jeremiah's not missing the playoffs if he has 50 to 60% pitching VTLs for the next 12 weeks. I'll tell you that for sure. I still don't believe that's probably likely, but there's light at the end of that tunnel now for Jeremiah because all he needs is to sneak into the playoffs. And if his pitching pops 1 week, that batting's good enough. So exciting things for Jeremiah this week. And I would say so for Corey too. He really didn't get a big win. No, he lost. That's wild. How is that possible? Talk about one of the most unlucky matchups ever. Corey is 25% better VTL against the league this week than French, but French beat him. I need to do a video on just that. So French's batting went absolutely nuts. 84%, second best in the league. That's 84th percentile all time, not 84% VTL. That would be like number one all time, or close to it. So French's batting was just good enough to sweep Corey's, what it must have been. In fact, I don't think I've done this at all. Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 batting categories French took over Corey and 1 pitching. Corey's batting was 66th percentile. That's good, nothing to scoff at all. But he basically got swept. And then the pitching, French was only good enough to win 7% of categories against anyone in the league, but one of those just so happened to be Corey's case. That's wild. Never seen something like that I can recall. 25% better by VTL and lost. Crazy. Very unlucky, I've got to say. Or clutch, you can argue, for French. Another 40 to 50% total VTL week. He just can't fluctuate above or beyond 40 to 50%. But hang in there, Corey. The numbers were really good. You got unlucky again. And then, yeah, the disturbing performances of the week, Casey, Alex, and Brad, all with sub 20th percentile outcomes. JW not too far ahead of that, 24th percentile. So a couple bad results. Nate all the way down at 32% VTL. And like I said, it's the second week in a row where we've seen something in the 30s from him, which I think I said last week. You'd have to go back to like middle of 2023 before you found the last one, except now it's been 2 weeks in a row. So troubling signs there potentially for Nate, but he's still number 2 in the power rankings for me. Let's look at those power rankings. This week, I'm calling Tier A the teams I trust. Putting myself at the top, 3% VTL lead. Nate with 2 weeks in a row of struggling, and me with a peak week. Seems to make sense. Still the two of us up at the top, I believe. There's a little bit of distance between us and the field right now. A little bit of a reshuffling of these same 4 teams. I had Alex all the way up at 3 last week, but this is now the second week in a row he's struggled. So kind of the same logic as Nate. Had to bump him down, but I still believe that he is a playoff team based on just the track record of, I think it's 5 of the last 7 weeks. He's been very good. But I think I got to give it to Maffey. I haven't wanted to believe. Not that I haven't wanted to believe. I haven't been a believer because there was just so much inconsistency. But I think there isn't really a team demanding to be put in third right now. And Maffey's got to be the one. He just beat Frank the other day. The numbers, I think, are the third strongest. Frank's technically got it by a percentage, but he just beat Frank. And Frank's kind of struggled 3 of the last 4 weeks until this monster week this week. I don't know. This is very tentative. Any of these people could be 3 all the way down to 6. This is how it shook out this week. Except for Corey, had a really good week. Totally screwed on his matchup and the individual statistics from both sides. That's just wild. Those are my projected playoff teams. Tier C, pitching's coming alive. Don't sleep on them. That's Jeremiah. Because if the pitching is there, the offense has been so consistently dominant, still the best in the league. Jeremiah will be a dangerous team if the pitching can stay 50%. So I still kind of believe it's there. And certainly, if one of these 4 teams struggles and drops off, I won't be shocked. Like, we're not talking about elite teams. We're talking about teams 53 to 48% VTL. they can be jumped. Any of those teams can be jumped. Anyone can be jumped. I can be jumped at this point in the season. I'm calling this the rest. Given some respect to French, though, I didn't realize when I was doing my analysis, apparently the last few weeks, that I just joked about how French can't get above 50, but he never goes below 40. I mean, every single week, 9 weeks in a row, I do believe. Let's check. I believe 9 weeks in a row, French's VTLs, if you add them together, yeah, between 80. Oh, he did exceed 50% VTL at least 2 times, but just barely. I mean, this is consistency. And I know this number looks odd. It's 80s, not like 40s and 50s like we're used to seeing. This is your pitching plus batting VTL combined, right? So if you have 100% here, that means you were some combination of 40-60 or 50-50 with your pitching and your batting VTL. So French has been so consistent, and in a tier of people that are, for lack of a better word, the kind of the bottom teams right now, consistently pretty good is good enough to be top of the tier. I think I may have had him a little bit low last time. Casey now has fallen below French in my estimation. I think when you look at that same set of metrics, Casey's started to perform worse and worse. And it's just, we're trending the wrong direction. 5 losses in a row. It's pretty hard to ignore. And yeah, a little bit scared for that, because I feel like we've seen that Casey's willing to buy, and that's admirable. But it's going to hurt if you buy and don't make it, because then next year is going to be even harder. It's just such a tough challenge, but I think everyone's probably pulling for Casey to go on a little run and make the playoffs for the first time. Everyone except maybe JW, Bo, and Brad, and French. That is. JW had a really good week in week 8. Not really the case in week 9. A couple of the stats on offense were pretty good, but the VTL wise, batting wise, even that didn't turn out to be great. The pitching's a little bit misleading when you look at the VTL stats, because JW's strategy is just to win K per 9, hold saves. He's not really too focused on some of the other ones, and so yeah, the pitching VTL is never going to be pretty. It's been surprisingly okay this season. Bo right behind. Part of the reason is I think JW is still trying to win, and I think Bo is on the cusp of selling potentially, or at least he's the only one who's consistently looking into it. So it just feels more, you could put any of these people anywhere in this 1 through 5. And then Brad maybe hasn't talked about selling, but maybe should, if you ask me. It's hard because the pitchers that he has, they looked so good on paper, and it isn't like the season is over. We all have so much time left, 12 more weeks. But when you look, Glasnow's going to be out a while. Shocker. Glasnow got hurt. Framber Valdez has been really good. Jameson Towns actually been fine, but I guess he started to regress. Chris Sale has been in a pretty good groove. Bailey Ober's fine. It's like you look at Ober, I say fine because he's not striking anybody out. You look at Ober, Sale, Framber, and Glasnow, and again, you're kind of like in the playoffs. You get one of those guys, maybe 2, going twice. That could be impossible to beat. Like any given week, they could just be so good that you might lose. But just doesn't seem to be working. And offensively, doesn't feel like there's a stud. I mean, at all. Is there a single stud? Anyway, I didn't mean to turn this into Brad Sucks Hour. You don't suck, Brad. Everyone in this tier is right next to each other. The VTLs prove it. We are just almost neck and neck. Any one of these 6 teams could be a playoff team. Would not surprise me, except for Bo, because I think Bo's going to sell, which is no offense to Bo, but I think he's going to sell. So, anyways, can't do power rankings, I guess, without mildly insulting someone with the ranking that you give at 12 or 10 or whatever. But no death sentences have been dealt out, or life sentences have been dealt out yet. Everyone's still got a chance. Still think it's a really fun time with all the parity. And Yeah, who will buy? That's the big question. And then when we buy, I haven't really talked about this all season in any of these videos, but I feel like we may have maybe made a leap and maybe we won't see the giant 5-player package just like be the norm going forward when we're buying and selling at the deadline, because we know that that helps super teams form, like all those 1, 2, 3 guys that you get on the periphery. Like you're getting really 2 studs, but then you ask for 3 extra throw-ins, and hey, I'm not going to keep them, so whatever, sure. I feel like we're maybe moving away from that, so I'm very curious to see how much talent is actually moved per deal, and also now that we've seen this last off season, keeping studs is a little bit more important, I think, than it used to be. Now that draft slots are not tied up by those keepers, it's like, why would you sell? And so if you don't have $100 of good keeper talent, it's kind of a tough ask to sell like your 2 or 3 studs that you do have, because if you're gonna try to rebound for the following year and you don't have any studs, the draft is not a bankable thing always. You might as well keep the guys you have. At least that's my theory. So I don't feel like we're going to see quite as big of a leap for the super teams this year. I think we're going to stay pretty competitive, and that a lot of teams are going to feel like they have a shot come trade deadline time. But we'll see. This is but week 9, and the trade deadline is not until the end of July. We got about, what is that, like, I guess 9, maybe 10 more weeks or something, maybe 9 more weeks. So a lot of time left, but I'm pretty excited. I think it's been a fun season. I guess that's all I got, though. So see you next time.